Welcome to the Green Wasp Removal YouTube channel. In this episode, we continue training and mentoring the Manchester University Wasp survey team as they remove a very active Baldfaced Hornets nest that's Dolichovespula maculata, a very beneficial native species of wasp here in North America, very important for pollination and biological pest control. The nest was removed from the property of the local chapter of the Izaak Walton League, which is a conservation-oriented nonprofit that supports reforestation. They give away free trees to encourage people to plant more trees. They support ecologically responsible hunting, and they run a popular local gun club and shooting range. They had contacted us to remove this Baldfaced Hornets nest because they had a shooting contest scheduled, and the nest was located right in front of the door to their storage area, which posed a potential sting risk to their members. But they were well aware of the ecological importance of this native species of wasp, and they wanted to make sure the wasps were handled responsibly. We applaud them for their environmentally responsible interest in protecting the nature around them. Look up and support the Izaak Walton League chapters in your area. They do good work. The Manchester University Wasp survey team did a fantastic job removing this Baldfaced Hornets nest and collecting the adult wasps for Venom Immunotherapy, or VIT. The 2024 Wasp survey team is off to a great start. They work really well together. They're fantastic to work with. They're very professional and they're very quick learners. These are young people into environmental science, into the environmental impact of what humans do in the ecosystem, and they are very, very good at what they do. The pilot program we started through Green Wasp Removal in Manchester University in 2023 was really successful, so they're rolling it again in 2024, and we'll show you plenty of footage of their adventures this season. We're proud to work with people like this to support our community and teach them more about the beneficial nature of wasps. And we'll show you how we humanely flash freeze the live wasp specimens using frozen carbon dioxide, that's dry ice, to preserve their venom for biomedical use. We'll show you some great close-up footage of exactly what life forms are inside these nests, from the egg to the immature larva to the mature larva to the pupae to the adult wasp, and the amazing process of how a wasp is born inside a wasp nest. You'll see the birth of a brand new bald-faced hornet just entering our world for the very first time. And we'll show you how they engage in a mouth-to-mouth feeding with the larva called trophallaxis, where the brand new adult wasp born in the nest will gently lick the face of the larva until the larva produces a sweet carbohydrate fluid that the brand new adult wasp can drink. We'll show you how we relocate the brood comb into captivity, where we can incubate the pupating wasps until they become adults on the nest. This process allows us to preserve the brood comb rather than let it go to waste, so that the adult wasps can be collected for Venom Immunotherapy. It only takes a few days for a lot of the silk-capped pupating wasps inside the brood comb to be born. And as that process happens, we feed them with honey and water, and day after day we can collect more of them for Venom Immunotherapy. As you see here, it's a very busy nest in a very short period of time. And given the right conditions, they just keep popping out like popcorn, and they can be collected and put to great use, saving human lives. We're very happy we can help that process of Venom Immunotherapy for patients with lethal venom allergies. So let's get to our 1 hour special. Thanks for being here with us today. We really appreciate you riding along with us. We hope you enjoy the show. We're going to show you everything we did, from the field work to the lab work and everything in between. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment to let us know you're there. One other note that's important for the WASP survey team at Manchester University: if there's anyone out there who's interested in making a tax-deductible donation to support this team and what they do, they could sure use the support. We're going to put a phone number up on the screen, and that's the number you can reach them directly at any time to make a donation and support them however you can. On behalf of the whole team and Green Wasp Removal, we thank you in advance for reaching out, for supporting, for watching this channel, and for your interest in taking care of wasps and protecting our ecosystem. All right, it's July 2nd today, right? 2024. Our 2024 Manchester University Wasp Survey team is Elise and Jaden and Katie and Jillian and Sam today, and they'll be our lead players for this season. So behind us we have a big old bald-faced hornet nest. It's about 1/3 the size of what it will get later, but it's still pretty active. And so this season is going to be a good one. Thanks, guys. Look at that science professional. Amazing. Good work, Senor. It looks awesome. Let's bring it down a little bit closer here. Maybe about there. Okay. There you go. You want to catch them when they're coming and going. So far, you're getting a nice group of those foragers, so perfect. Just keep it up. And you've noticed we haven't made them panic. See how they're just up here working like they normally would on any other day. They're just building their nest, going about what they do, making paper. It's exactly what they want. They just want to be left alone, right? You'll hear all kinds of horror stories, especially from pest control companies. Look out for bald-faced hornets. They'll come and kill everyone in your family. That's all BS. It's all corporate selling poison BS. They're just trying to live, and they're just trying to maintain their house like any other animal. They will not attack you if you're not attacking them. If you're quiet and comfortable, hey, if you're mowing your lawn, you scare the hell out of them, they're going to come after you, right? Or if you bump the doorway coming in and out, they're going to go after you because you startled them. But in general, they're no more aggressive than any other insect. But so far, so perfect. Textbook. All right, Jillian, your first wasp removal. How's it feel?
Good. Yeah.
Good job. Jillian's getting a good collection here. Got a nice number of foragers in there so far. It's going exactly like it's supposed to. Have you seen any sucked into the tube yet?
Yes, I've seen that once too.
Excellent. Then you're in the right spot. Just adjust as needed. Okay? Whenever there's too many getting past you, just adjust. All right, from Jillian's perspective here, this is what she sees.
It's a very lightweight.
Good job. Nice. Good collection of foragers. Fantastic. Perfect. Over here on the side, you can see this one's just still going about its business, working on building paper. We'll just show you that process here for a second. Just a note on voiceover here. You'll notice as the wasp goes down the edge of the paper it's working on, it's got a darker tone to the material that it's squeezing between its mandibles. That's because it's wet with saliva, the mixture of wood pulp and saliva. And that darker tone color will eventually lighten up as the material dries, and it'll match the rest of the nest. You're doing a great job. That's a perfect collection in perfect form. The best thing so far about this whole thing is you guys operated in a way that did not panic the nest. It didn't make them all come out crazy. That can get dangerous, especially if there's spectators or people around. You want to just slow with control, everything you do. And that just keeps it a little calmer. Good job, Sam. Good collection of bald-faced hornets. It's Dolichovespula maculata. It's an aerial yellow jacket, which means they like to build in places at height, typically in trees, bushes, tall grass, but it's always an open nest, open to the environment. It's not a cavity-dwelling yellow jacket like underground yellow jackets, eastern yellow jacket, southern yellow jacket. They're all underground cavity dwellers. Same with German yellow jacket. They'll be inside soffits like this, or they'll be inside sheds or walls or attics or underground. But aerial yellow jackets, they build out in the open like this, on the sides of buildings. And around here we really only see the bald-faced hornet, which is misnamed. It's not a real hornet, it's actually a yellow jacket species, an aerial yellow jacket. But that's the only one we really see. There is one other evidently in this region called the arenaria, the Dolichovespula arenaria, or golden hornet, but we never see that one around here, at least not in the last few years. Like a boss. Well done. Going right in still. There we go. I love that sound, that clink. It's like a slot machine, you know, you got it when you got it. All right, once you get to the point where your nest activity has slowed down and most of our collection of foragers is already contained and the traffic in and out of the nest has slowed down, then it's time to attempt to get a few more out of the nest that are in there. And the way we do that is we just tap. We're going to tap on the nest, and I'll tell you when to start. And Sam, this is where you get right up to the hole, just barely covering the whole hole, but not completely, because you don't want to cause too much suction to tear it up that you're putting up against it. You don't want it to escape the vacuum. So guys, when you're ready, very gently start tapping. Tap the nest as high as you can reach. Just start tapping, agitate it, give them a panic reaction. From that, you can bang on the soffit a little bit, around it. Just make a little noise, a little motion. Whatever's left in there, we want them to come running out and do their panic defensive reaction. If you're not seeing many, just bang a little harder, a little louder. Go up a little higher. There you go. Give it a few whacks. Here you go, Sam. It's starting to come out. Good. Let them come in, Sam. Back up a little bit so that you can suck them up. Some of the foragers are coming, and they're exiting parts of the other part of the nest here. There you go. All right, now let's back off a little bit. Let Sam collect. All right, here we go. You ready, Sam? Get right up next to it. Okay, let's pull back. Yep, give it a little space, usually from underneath, because they're trying to see their hole. So go from underneath so that their hole is obvious to them. Because they all visually orient, so if you block their hole, they can't find their way home. Pull down just a little bit underneath there. There you go. All right, you ready? Now keep stirring them up so you can get them in and out until they get them in the tube. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and get the paper down. So, Jaden, what we're going to do typically is start from the outside of the nest. And we're going to scrape this paper off real gently, one piece at a time, and try to get as big a sheet as you can. Because when we reset the nest up in captivity, the comb, we're going to recover it in the paper. So you take a layer at a time, and you just sort of peel it back a little bit at a time, trying to keep it in a large sheet. At least the largest sheet we can make. And drop it right in. And very gently, and we'll just peel it like an onion. There, you see the larva in there? The small yellow grubs are larvae. And you see how they're wiggling around? They're like baby birds. They just wiggle around trying to get fed. The more activity they make, the easier it is for the wasps to find them and feed them. So just like baby birds, they will attempt to make a lot of motion. There you go, Sam. Just take them right off the nest. Try to be gentle not to harm the comb, but you want to get every one of them. There you go. Now let's let it sit right there for a second. Just let Sam work on those adults. So I'll help you kind of shake and loose. The newest adults who have just pupated and come out, they like to stay on the nest for a couple of days. They're not quite functional yet. So they're harder to get out because you see how they hide inside the cells? They don't want to come out. Yeah, they're like, what are you doing to my house? You know, but it's working out great. Now I'm going to get some imagery while Sam's working on that. So in this image, you can see a pretty good close-up of what's inside the brood comb of this bald-faced hornet nest. And what you see are a lot of white silk caps. So the yellow larvae that you see moving around inside the cells, once they become ready to pupate, they weave a silk cap over the top of their cell. And a lot of them have done that already, as you see here. Once they're ready to come out as adult wasps, they will chew their way out of that white silk cap and become adult wasps and foragers on the nest. Now in the center of the nest, you see the taller white silk caps. The center ones, those are reproductives. That means queens and males are being born toward the center of the nest in the taller, larger white silk capped cells. The shorter white caps around the outer ring of the nest are typically just more female workers, although sometimes you'll see that mixed up a little bit depending on what's happening in the nest. Okay, so what we're going to do now is have Sam hold this thing, make sure that anything that comes off of there drops in. And whoever's handling this, get it up to the nest. You see anything that's an adult, aggressively get it. You don't want it getting away. And Jaden, take the tongs here from Sam and get that paper off and drop it right into the nest box here. Sam, turn that around. We're just going to labels toward the back. That's good right there. Yeah, that could be our queen.
And this is paper you want me to get off?
All that top paper, just bust your way through that stuff and put it right in. It's going to be real hard like cardboard.
Yeah.
So just kind of crunch it off as much as you can get off. Take chunks of it off. There you go, take a chunk off. Sometimes there's wasps hiding in those nooks and crannies. Sometimes the queen is in there. No, we're good. We want you right there in case anything comes back. What?
Try to get in there.
Like here's one coming back, suck that up, let it land on the nest. Here comes a forager, just let it land if it will, and then suck it right up, okay? All right, go ahead, keep working. But whenever you see one come back, try to let it land. So we want to collect every one that we can get.
Yeah, so they can clean it.
Great, top it off. Look for the queen.
I died to that one.
Get her right there.
Yeah, you got
I
her.
think I already got her.
You might have already done it, that's awesome.
I saw a massive one, and I'm pretty sure it went in.
Yeah, good job, you got the queen.
Leave them in the kitchen.
You can cook them up. A lot of cultures eat the wasp larva for a very rich source of protein.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually very tasty.
Alright, let's get the rest
Hey,
of
great job. How's it look?
The nest?
Yeah, looking
Oh,
good.
it looks really intact. The cone at least.
Great job.
Considerably larger than the other one.
You guys have the paper?
Yeah, take the paper container. Where'd that go? Yeah. Here, drop it right in here. There you go. Here, I'll hand this to you and you keep dropping it in.
Maybe pick up that.
Yeah, who knows where she ended up.
I definitely saw her, and then I didn't see her. So
It's okay. I have a feeling she's probably right in there somewhere because a lot of them look about the same size. But
No, she's pretty big.
good job. Looks great. So keep it active for a little bit, and any more comes back while he's working. And if you can get a little higher up there, Jaden, to look into the corrugated tin spaces, see if there's any holes any of them could have crawled into.
I don't think so. There's a material in there.
Perfect. All right. That's great. How's that nest look?
cool.
Nice.
I got the larva up close.
Yeah, let's take a look. So you see there, the larva is very, very active. And the reason it's so active is that instinctually it knows the more that it moves, the better chance it has of being fed. It's like a baby bird. It's very active in there. It'll scrape its mandibles along the side of its cell to make noise and activity. That's what they're doing. And pretty soon, in a couple of weeks, once they're developed, they will weave a silk cap from the glands in their mouths, and they will become adult wasp a couple of weeks after that.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. All right, here's a shot of the queen. The queen is the large one right there. Hold it right there. So she's the large one you see in the center of the frame. Quite a bit bigger than most of her. Oops, she almost disappeared, but there she is. She's quite a bit bigger than most of the workers. So it's a little hard to see this image, but we did find the queen inside the bottle. The collection was complete at that point. We knew we had the queen. We knew we had most of the workers. And that's always the goal. You want to try to capture the queen so they don't rebuild in the same place. And if you want to relocate the nest, you want to have the queen along with it, typically, for the best chance of success. So here we are on July 2nd, 2024. The Wasp survey team from Manchester University just did a fantastic textbook operation on this Baldfaced Hornet nest. This is a great collection for Venom Immunotherapy. Not a single damaged wasp. They also have the queen. Couldn't have gone any better. Now, any returning foragers will come back to the old nest site over the next couple of days. They'll be homeless and they'll dissipate on their own into the ecosystem. Everything else we have collected. Well done. We're doing cleanup at this stage, and what we're using is a soap and water mixture with some essential oil. It's a non-toxic mixture that's very important. What this does is it eliminates the pheromone that was on the nest, the chemical signature of the wasps, so that when some of them come back from the woods, from out here where they were foraging, they'll come back over the next couple days, they'll be looking for their nest, and they won't find it, and the pheromones are gone. And that will encourage them to move on somewhere else. So scrub all the residue off, spray it down again, spray it all again, then scrub it again, spray it again. Go over that process several times.
It would usually rinse off all the residue there, yeah.
How heavy is that, Sadie?
Not too bad.
Like a 45? I don't know. You're free to try it.
All right, here's the Manchester University Wasp Survey team. One of their first removals in 2024. This is maculata. That's Dolichovespula maculata, the Baldfaced Hornet. Fantastic collection for Venom Immunotherapy. They did an excellent job. Not a single damaged wasp. A lot of foragers in that collection. Very good job, guys. So here we have a bunch of Baldfaced Hornets, aerial yellow jackets, Dolichovespula maculata. They're balling up right now around the paper bits from their nest that are in the container, and also around their queen. Very good, healthy collection. This will be great for Venom Immunotherapy. So we're going to freeze the wasps now in dry ice to preserve them for the season. It's July 2nd, 2024. We're back at the shop and we're going to go ahead and freeze our specimens from the Baldfaced Hornet removal that we did this morning. And we're going to preserve them for Venom Immunotherapy. And the way we do that is we put the container, this is the collection container from the field directly, and we take these wasps and we put them into the dry ice container. This cooler holds, give or take, 50 pounds of dry ice. What we tend to keep in there. It's a little bit less now because some of it has sublimated. But what you do, make sure you have gloves on. You can touch dry ice with gloves. You cannot touch it with bare hands typically. It'll burn you. It's too cold. Also protect your eyes if you can. So you dig out some space in the container. Put the container in. And you bury it in dry ice. It's very important that the wasps go under the dry ice because the ice cools downward. And we need the wasp to get knocked out. Then you recover it with material to help fill up the space to take the air out. You want as little air as possible inside the container. You let them freeze in there for at least 15-20 minutes. That's what we typically do. It could happen as fast as 5 minutes to knock them out, but we like them nice and cold, and then we'll transfer them into specimen baggies that are marked with species and date, and we'll put them into long-term cold storage in a chest freezer. So once you have your wasps solidly frozen and knocked out in the dry ice, which is just frozen CO2, we transfer them into a baggie, and we write the name of the species and the date on the baggie. Just remove the insulation material. Uncover the now frozen specimens. Replace the insulation, because to preserve the dry ice, you always want the least amount of air inside. So you put in as much material as it takes to fill up the airspace. Now, what you'll see in the specimen bottle is that everything is completely frozen solid inside. These are solid like little ice cubes now. So they're well preserved, and their venom has been well preserved, which is the point of freezing them this way and knocking them out instantly with CO2 and dry ice. This is the best, most viable way to preserve the chemistry of the venom that will eventually be used for injections in the biomedical treatment of people with allergies to this venom. So you open up your container, you open up the baggie, and we always use gloves when touching dry ice. So we're going to write the date, which is 7/2/24. We're going to write the species, which is Dolichovespula maculata, which is a scientific name for bald-faced hornet. Great beneficial species here in North America. And when they have to be removed, Venom Immunotherapy is a great way to make sure they don't go to waste. Gently put them into the bag to make sure that they are not broken during the process of transfer. You often have to tap the collection container to free them up because they cling to the inside of the container sometimes. Make sure your container is clean and you've got every specimen. Looks good. Now you take your specimens, as you see, there's a nice collection here of workers, and we have the queen as well. And you seal them up. And then we transfer this baggie into a chest freezer where it will stay for the season. And at the end of the season, we ship them out to a company that will then send them to the biolabs in Europe and the USA. So now we're back at the lab, and we're going to take the comb from the bald-faced hornet nest, which is in here. It's got live pupae, live larvae, and eggs, and it's got some workers that are being born as they pupate out of the nest. And as you can see, these are very much alive. The larvae inside this container are moving around a lot. They want to be fed. They're like baby birds. So the more they move around, the more they will be fed by the adult wasps. So that's why you see them so active and moving. They're hungry and they're ready to be fed. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow these workers to continue maintaining the larvae. You see this one doing trophallaxis, going to and fro each of the larvae, and it gets a little drink of fluid from the larva, and then it gives a little protein to the larva at the same time. It's a two-way feeding. So as long as you provide these workers with some protein in the form of insect meat, they will continue to feed the larva. So that's hopefully something that will occur here in semi-captivity. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this nest and we're going to put it inside this container, which is an enclosed glass container. And once it's in there, there's hatches on the top. We're going to release those hatches, at least open one of them, and allow these wasps to free range, to go out and come back to the nest, however they like. And if they continue to maintain the nest, that's great. We will then allow the nest to grow to size again, and then we will collect these adult wasps that are born in the nest. And all of these white caps, they will pupate out into adult wasps soon, within the next week or two, usually. And then they can be collected for venom immunotherapy. So it's a good, viable nest, very healthy, lots of population, and we're going to hope that it will survive in captivity so we can collect more of these wasps later for venom immunotherapy. And in the meantime, they can go out into the environment and do what they need to do in the environment, which is knock down the pest insect population for us here in our local ecosystem. Now, in the meantime, we have the paper from the nest. Beautiful wasp paper made from wood pulp and saliva. As you saw earlier in the video, you could see where they were building each strand of this. Even while we were doing the removal, they kept trying to build on more paper. And this material is fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this material into this container that we put the nest brood into. And hopefully they can reuse that paper to help build their nest. So what we tend to do is we'll take a piece of scrap paper and we'll put that down as a liner. And then we will knock out our nest adults, any of them like this that are currently alive and adults. We will knock them out with a gas temporarily to tranquilize them, and then we will transfer everything inside, and then we will let them wake back up, and they will be inside with their nest, inside with some paper they can use to rebuild, and then we will see if it will be a viable nest in captivity. So the first thing we do in order to transfer the wasps and the nest into the new container is we have to knock out these guys with a gas. So we take a canned gas and we put it right into the container and we knock them out very gently with this gas, and it temporarily knocks them out. As you'll see here, the effects of this gas makes them pass out, makes them unable to fly, and also unable to sting and that sort of thing. So while they're in that condition, we take advantage of that and we move everything into the new container while they are unable to attack and fly away. So we're going to just add some more gas in here in case there's any hiding underneath. And we're going to take a look in there a little bit, see who's in there, find anybody else. So before we put the nest into the glass habitat, we're going to take a closer look at it. So we can show you everything that's inside this nest. What we have here is a very active, very healthy bald-faced hornet nest. And generally speaking, this time of year is a high population time of year. They're growing very exponentially. So as you can see, in here there's larvae of all different stages. Very mature larvae and also very tiny larvae that is barely developed yet from egg stage. And there's also, down in the bottoms of the cells, some eggs on the very outer sides of the cells. So you see some tiny larvae down below, and you see some very mature active larvae here. The reason they move so much is that instinctually they will scrape their mandibles along the inside of their cell to make as much noise and activity as they can. And the reason they do this is because they want to draw attention from the adult wasps who feed them. And the more activity they make, the more they hope to be fed. They're very much like baby birds in that regard. You can see their circulatory systems pumping. These are very good, healthy looking larvae. You can see their tiny mandibles opening and closing. All along the sides of this nest. They are very active. In the newer cells toward the bottom, you can see the more immature larvae. They are not as active yet. Over on the edges, same thing. Very active, very hungry larvae, waiting to be fed insect protein, which is the meat that they live on all the way through their development until they pupate. Once they pupate, they weave a silk cap, just like these, over their cell, and they do that from glands inside their mouths. And the silk is mostly a protein-based material, and it's very tough, very hard. This material is hard enough to withstand just about any weather, and it's very tough to the touch. And it's relatively difficult to pull it off of the nest. Underneath those white caps are pupating larvae that are in the process of turning into adult wasps. And they go through several phases of development, shed their skin several times. These are called instars. Instars are developmental stages inside pupation cells. And when they come out, they're adult wasps and they chew their way out. Now, up on top, you see some of these cells are taller. You see how some are smaller, and in the middle, some of these are taller. The taller cells typically hold reproductives. That means these will be the new queens for the following season, or they'll be males. Maybe a combination of both. But these are going to be taller cells because they need more space, inside the cell to grow a larger wasp that will be prepared to hibernate after they mate this fall. They'll hibernate over winter, and then they will go ahead and become the queens for next year. Now, you may be able to hear the larvae scraping their mandibles along the edges of the cell. It's a little noisy in the background, so you may not be able to make it out, but let's listen. It's kind of a clicking sound or a scraping sound. There's a lot of construction happening around the neighborhood right now on all the streets, so apologies for the background noise. Now, deep inside these cells, some of them you can see new eggs have been formed. And these are the eggs that will become males who will mate toward the end of the season. And some of these eggs will become queens next season. There you see another egg. They're always attached to the side of the cell. They're not in the bottom of the cell. And the larva will stay attached to the cell for a period of time during development, and then it will detach eventually. But you see here, eggs in various forms. Some have hatched into tiny larvae, some are still unhatched. These guys are just super active. Now, here you see a cell in which a newly born adult is chewing its way out of the cell. Right there, can you see that one? This is what it looks like when they pupate and they chew their way out of the cell. And this one's about to emerge as an adult wasp as soon as it can free itself from the cell. You see its mandibles cutting away the silk. If it wasn't so noisy in the background, you could hear it chewing away. Maybe we can watch this one come out. This one's making good progress. It is rapidly chewing away its silk cap and will soon just pull itself right out and land on the nest. Pretty soon, you'll see that more and more of these pupating wasps start popping out of the nest like popcorn. They just keep coming and coming. All of these are about in the same developmental stage, so pretty soon you're going to see lots of these. And this is why we save these brood combs when we do removals, because as they become born, this is dozens more that can be collected for venom immunotherapy. We never destroy any of the brood comb that we find during removals, because virtually all of these combs, regardless of the species, can be reared in captivity until they can be collected. This one's making great progress. Pretty soon it'll pop right out. She's the only one right now about to come out, but over the next couple of days, we're going to see dozens more. Looks like she's just about ready to make a break for it here in a minute. Here she comes. There you go. Good job, my lady. Welcome to the world. And she'll dry her wings, dry her body. Get ready to be a wasp. No longer a larva, no longer a pupa, but a full-grown wasp. And you see how she'll instinctually go to find a drink from the larva. And she will get some sustenance from the larva. And sometimes they crawl right back into a cell head first, and they just relax until they're ready to be foragers. And that sometimes takes a day or two. But you see how she instinctually puts her head into the cell. Eventually she'll do trophallaxis with the larva. They'll give her a drink, and in exchange, she'll go out and become a forager and bring back insect protein meat for the larva. And they will do that two-way feeding. At this stage, bald-faced hornets are very much non-aggressive. So she won't attempt to sting. She'll just get acclimated. You see her grooming. That's how they clean their bodies. It's a very important process for wasps. There she goes, getting mobile, drying herself off. If you put your finger here, she'll just come over and explore it. She won't attack it. Because she's just exploring her world. Because she instinctually is looking for sweet carbohydrate fluids now, which she'll typically get from the larva or when she's out nectaring in the wild. There, she just learned how to do trophallaxis with the larva that was in that cell. She licks the larva mouth to mouth, and they exchange fluids. and that helps the larva's development as well. The larvae depend on this behavior to develop properly, and the new adults depend on this behavior to get fed. So here we've slowed the footage down 50% so you can see a close-up look at the trophallaxis between the newly born adult wasp and the larva. That trophallaxis is how the larva will feed a sweet carbohydrate fluid to the adult wasp that was just born. But if you were to remove the larva from the nest, she would drink honey from a stick that we provide her. Here we offer the newly born adult wasp some honey, and she doesn't recognize it as food. She refuses it and doesn't understand what it is. That's because the larvae are in the nest, and she instinctually feeds from the larva. If we remove the larva from the nest and then provide honey, then these wasps will immediately start to feed on the honey. So let's go ahead now and put our nest inside the glass enclosure. We're going to put it upside down, because that's the way it is in nature. And we're going to put some paper in with it to cover it up and allow them some material to build a nest with, and just to give them some shelter. That should be enough to allow them to get started on a rebuild if they are interested in rebuilding. Now what we're going to do is we'll take it outside and we're going to open up one of the hatches. And that will allow them access to free range, go out and forage for the nest if they wish to do that. And if not, we'll go ahead and just collect whatever pupae are born inside the captive environment, because they'll stay on the nest. And we'll collect them for VIT when they're able to come out. So now that they have some of their paper and they're safe inside this enclosure, it's screened off for ventilation, more and more of them will start to pupate out. And as they pupate out of there, we'll collect them for Venom Immunotherapy. So here we are a few days later on July 7th. It's been about 5 days. We've been able to collect for VIT several of the wasps that have come out of pupation on this nest. Here's a few more coming out. And unfortunately, we didn't save a lot of the larvae that had not pupated yet, but a lot of the pupated wasps have come out. And we leave honey and water in here. That's what you see in the dishes for them to feed on. And a couple days later here, you're going to see us checking on them on July 9th. Today's July 9th, 2024. We're just showing you a look at the comb of this bald-faced hornet nest that we've had now in captivity for about a week. We come in periodically and we'll vacuum up these adult wasps who've been born on the nest so that we can pupate them out for Venom Immunotherapy. As you can see, more and more are born every day. And after a couple of days, we'll just collect them again. And they feed off the honey and the water you see here. Unfortunately, we cannot save most of the larvae of the nest that have not pupated yet. So if they don't have time to make a silk cap when we do collections, typically they're just sacrificed because there's no way to save them in captivity like this. But as you can see, the purpose for this type of incubation is to get the maximum amount of adults we can out of each collection that we have, that we've relocated from a place where they were unwanted. And this is the best use of this type of comb because it can always be utilized for Venom Immunotherapy. And all of these wasps will be utilized to save people's lives who have a severe venom allergy, sometimes a lethal venom allergy. As you can see, they're quite viable. So that's it for our 1 hour special today on bald-faced hornet nest relocations and collections for Venom Immunotherapy. Thanks for riding along with us today. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. We appreciate your support. Have a good one.